The development of effective vaccines is key to achieving economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And what great news we've had these past few weeks in which we've had not one, but rather two potentially effective vaccines that could be widely available at some point towards the middle of next year. Now, the oil market has had a strong reaction to this, but its reaction has been, to say the least, surprising. The biggest impact seems to have been on very nearby contracts, December this year, January, February, March 2021, whereas longer dated contracts, which one might have imagined would show a stronger response, have actually shown a more muted response. As we go into the Northern Hemisphere's winter, economic activity around the world remains very, very soft. In the United States, Western Europe, and Japan, GDP was about 4% lower in Q3 2020 than it had been 1 year prior. And that was before lockdown measures started to be reintroduced in large parts of Western Europe and in parts of the United States. And the news, of course, isn't all bad. We see very strong growth out of China, but other emerging markets continue to suffer. And very importantly for oil, the global airline industry is still down by about 60% or so. So the oil demand picture looks pretty weak. But what about the supply picture? Well, the supply picture in some ways has been improving. OPEC plus Russia have shown a great deal of discipline in keeping a lid on production, as have the U.S. producers, who've cut their production also by about 20%. We've started to see a reduction in oil inventories and the inventories for ultra-low sulfur diesel, all of which is very good news for the oil markets going forward. However, those inventory levels remain exceptionally high by historical standards. So a lot of the supply side for oil will depend on how well OPEC maintains discipline. And OPEC maintains discipline like they did in the 2 years after the 2014 to 16 oil price crash, then the oil market might recover rather quickly. In particular, if we see a lot of pent-up demand once a vaccine becomes widely available towards the end of 2021 or into 2022, it may take the oil suppliers a while to bring production levels back higher. But this will require OPEC unity to see a bull market in oil. And we recently have heard of potential dissent from the United Arab Emirates and potentially other countries who are objecting to the stringent oil quotas. So the future path for oil remains very, very much in question. I'm Eric Norland, Senior Economist with the CME Group in London.